Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So today we try to deal in this video with the English tenses. Well, what we know is that whenever we change the tense of a sentence, we obtain a different meaning. So it's very important to know the meanings expressed by the tenses. For example, when you say, I was ill, here you are using the past simple to indicate that the action is completely finished. But if you say, I have been ill, that is, you use the present perfect have plus past participle, it can mean, for example, that your disease started a couple of days ago and it's still here, or you are feeling better but you are still having your treatment. Yes, you have not completely recovered from your disease. So you see through these two examples how changing the tense in a sentence changes the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so English verb tenses. When we talk about tense, so whenever you have an idea, you say when. When it happened. When has it happened, etc. Okay, let's start with the first one. The simple present tense. The simple present tense. Well, sometimes people think that the present continuous, that is when you say, yes, when you say, I am explaining the tenses. When? Now. This moment. So this is, let's say, the real present. But if you say, I teach English, does it mean that you are teaching English now? No. If you want to say, I'm teaching English now, you say, I'm teaching. Present continuous. This is, we said, real present. But if you say, I teach English, this is what you do all the time, because you are a teacher of English. So it's a habitual action, it is a permanent action, yes? So, and the present simple, yes, the present simple is said to be a timeless present. Remember, less means without. So, without time, without precise time. So, if we represent, yes. So, when is it used? It is used when you are referring to habitual actions. Every day I go to university, yes. Every day I learn the Quran. So, this is what you do habitually, yes. Second possibility, when you are referring to unchanging truths. For example, if you say, yes, the sun rises at the east. This is what the sun does every day. So it is permanent again. Or when you are making general statements of a fact. Yes, again, it's the same like the previous example, the sun rises at the east. Now, scientific truth, when you say, for example, bacteria are dangerous, or microbes are dangerous, viruses are dangerous. This is scientifically proved. You can say, for example, water boils at 100 degrees. So whenever you take water and you put it on fire, when it reaches 100 degrees, it starts boiling. So when you are making general statements of a fact, right? Okay, now, how to obtain the present simple? The present simple is, yes, let's see examples. The present simple is always the pronoun or the subject pronoun or noun plus the stem, that is the infinitive without to. We call it stem or bare infinitive, right? Example one, he always comes late to class. It indicates a habit. The sun rises in the east, unchanging truth. And they are friendly, general statement of effect. Whenever you pay them a visit, they welcome you, etc. Okay. Now, when you are working with tenses, or when you are asking an activity to put the verbs in their correct form, you always look for indicators, signs which indicate when the action takes place. Well, the indicators of time with the present simple, you can have the frequency adverbs, that is adverbs indicating how often the action takes place. And for example, you have always, usually, sometimes, rarely, often, never, frequently, occasionally, every day. So they indicate habits. And yes, you can have them in a negative meaning when you say never. I never drink sodas. So this is a habit. That's it. Absence of action. Right. Okay. So the form is, as we said, infinitive without to. Now, we must pay attention to the third person singular. So it's, we said, the pronoun or the noun. Yes. I study, you study, but you say he studies, she studies, it studies. You put an S with the third person singular, and this causes plenty of trouble for some students. They always forget to put S. So remember your S with he, she, it. Now you say I wait, you wait, but she waits, he waits, it waits. Now you can represent tenses in a timeline or a time or, yes, a time or line. For example, this is the line, the timeline. So here you have the past, we have the future. So the present simple is not this position, because this is I am explaining the tenses. This is now, present continuous. And we say the present simple is a timeless tense because it covers the whole timeline. So I teach English. It means maybe I started 20 years ago, so I was teaching English. Now I am teaching English, and probably if I'm still alive, inshallah, tomorrow I will teach English. Right, so it covers all this part. Right. Let's move to the past simple. The past simple indicates or describes a completely finished action at a fixed time in the past. So you know when it took place, because it makes the difference with another tense, the present perfect, that we'll see later. Okay, a completely finished. It's in red because it's very important. So, completely finished action at a fixed time in the past. Well, when is it used? Well, it is used when an activity or situation began, the past of begin, so we are using the past, and ended at a particular time in the past. In other words, when an activity or a situation is completely in the past. You say, for example, yesterday I went to Algiers. Yesterday I paid a visit to my grandmother. So it happened yesterday. So you have a fixed time, and time has changed. We are today, so it happened in the past and it is completely finished. To refer to past habits, yes, we have seen that we can use the frequency adverbs, always, often, usually, frequently, never, with the present simple, because they indicate, a habit, a permanent action, or something representing a general truth. The sun always rises at the east, right? But the frequency adverbs do not necessarily indicate the present habit. They can indicate a past habit. For example, when I was young, I always went to the cinema. When I was young, because now I'm older. When I was young, this is a period of time indicating something happening in the past. So it is an indicator of the past. And we say always because it indicates a habit. But here, this time, the habit is in the past. So to refer to past habits. Let's move to examples. So, he was late to class when? Yesterday. Maybe today he arrived on time, but he was late to class yesterday, so it happened, it's finished. The word ago, in French you say il y a, mundo, yes, il y a. So we arrived 3 weeks ago, so it's a fixed time in the past, completed actions in the past. Okay. Now, she always wrote a letter to her mother on Sunday night. So whenever it was Sunday, it was an occasion for her to write a letter to her mother, or now we speak about mails more rather than letters. So the indicators for the past, you can have words such as, these are just examples, it's not a limited list. So, last night, last week, last year, last month, last Saturday, last Monday, last Wednesday, last semester, etc. You can have the word yesterday, you can have ago with 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Well, 1 day ago does not exist because we say yesterday, right? So 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 weeks ago, yes, 3 years ago, 2 centuries ago. Okay, and frequency adverbs, as I said, because they express habits or habits in the past. So always, often, frequently, generally, usually, sometimes, rarely, and we have the synonym seldom, S-E-L-D-O-M, seldom, rarely, and never. Right, I never, you say in the present, I never smoke. But if you are smoking today and you didn't use to smoke in the past, you say, yes, I smoked when I was 20, but now I'm 60, I have stopped, alhamdulillah, I have given up smoking, and by the way, it's a very bad habit. Right, now, the problem or the trouble with the past, simple, is that we have two forms. We have two forms, regular or irregular. Regular forms, it means you have the stem and you add ed, right, you just add ed. A study, I studied. You studied, she, he studied, so it's always ed. With all the pronouns, yes, or all subjects, does not change. And we have irregular forms, just remember the lists you have at the end of your books. When you used to study in lycees or even any book of grammar, you have a list of irregular verbs, which is hard to learn by heart, but still, you use, whenever you use, my advice is, whenever you use a verb, try to reuse it in your examples every time, so as it becomes fixed in your mind, right? So, leave, L-E-A-V-E, leave, which is different from live, I live in Rédha, L-I-V-E, so the pronunciation, so we have short E, live, I live in Rédha, and leave to move from one place to another, right? So, the past is left, I left, you left, left. For begin, it's begun with A, from I, it changes into I. So go, went, right, and so on, right. Now, let's represent it in the time, on the timeline. So, this is now, I'm explaining English, future. Tomorrow I will explain the tenses for my students, and the past is somewhere here, before now. But you have, we said, a fixed time in the past, yesterday, 2 days ago, don't forget. Okay, keep it in mind, right. The present perfect. Well, when you say present perfect, many people may think, or some people may think that it is a present tense. It's not present. It is a past which is in relation with the present. This is why it is called the present perfect. We obtain it using have or has, the auxiliary have or has for he, she, it. Remember we add as. So I have, you have, they have, but we say he has, she has, it has, plus the past participle of the verb. Okay, remember again, since we have two forms, regular and irregular, for regular verbs it's ed. I stay, past stayed, past participle stayed. I study, past studied, past participle studied. So ed for the past and ed for the past participle. The problem is with, or some trouble may appear with irregular verbs, because sometimes the past and the past participle have the same form, like leave, left, left, but with begin. We have begin, began with a, and began with you. Yes, go, went, gone. So here we have to be careful. Right, so a tense very commonly used in English to refer to the past. Yes, it is very used, but how? What does it mean? Let's compare with the past again, an example that I mentioned before. I was ill, so alhamdulillah you have recovered. But I have been ill, it means you started being ill in the past, somewhere in the past. Yes, it's not precise, somewhere in the past I said, yes. So, you started being ill in the past, some time in the past, not fixed, it's not yesterday, it's not 2 days ago, we don't know. And either today you feel better, but you still have a bad appetite. You still have some injections to take, some shots to take, and they are terrible, by the way. So, when an activity happened at an unspecified, not fixed time in the past before the present, when an activity has been repeated several times before now, yes, you say, I have taken, well, I have sat for many exams. That is, the exams started somewhere in the past and we are still having the exams, right? So, when an activity was very recently completed, you say, for example, she has arrived or she has just arrived. I don't say she arrived half an hour ago, she arrived 2 minutes ago. She has arrived. When? In the past, but I with no precision. So I give no precision, right? So when an activity was very recently completed, when an activity is not completed in the past, it has not finished. The past finishes in the past, it takes place in the past, and it finishes before now in a fixed time. But the present perfect started in the past, and it did not finish in the past. It reaches the present or goes over the present, right? Let's have some examples to make it clearer. So, they have already seen that movie. When? We don't know. In the past. Yes. It means a specified time before now, and maybe she, because the film was interested, some people have seen the Titanic plenty of times before. They say, I have already seen the Titanic and maybe 2 or 3 times, we don't know. And we don't know when. It's not specified again. We have visited New York City many times, maybe 3, not precise, maybe 3 times, 4 times, twice, we don't know. Repeated activity before now. I have just eaten, so alhamdulillah, yes, my stomach is full, yes, but if you invite me for some more meal, I'd be happy. So, I have just eaten, an action has recently been completed before now, but let's say it's a fresh action. Yes, right. Action not completed in the past. I have studied Spanish for many years.
And I still now.
Well, yes, maybe I'm still studying Spanish for the moment. Yes, this is it, right. The indicators, yes, some signs that may help you understand that you are dealing with the present perfect. So you say, before, ever, never. You say, for example, I have never visited London. It means at no time in the past you have been to London. Maybe in the future. But from the past, from the time I remember, up to now, I've never gone to London. So far, just, it has just arrived. It indicates a very fresh action. Just. So, yes, since, recently, ever, I'm teaching English since, let's say, 1980. So it started in the past, but it has not finished. Now, another example. A teacher who has retired, who was a teacher of English, he said, he may say, and he has stopped teaching, of course, because he has retired, he says, I taught English for 20 years. I was teacher and I'm no more teaching English. I have taught English for 20 years. I started with my friend, in the first example, but he retired and I'm still on activity. So I'm practicing teaching, so I have taught and I'm still teaching. This is I think a clear difference. So, or yet, never for, yes, for which indicates a period of time. You say, I have taught English and you indicate a period. I have taught English for 30, 20, 35 years, you indicate. So with for we use the duration. Now, when you say since, it's the same meaning but indicates the starting point. I have taught English since 1980. So the starting point. So for and since indicate the same meaning, present perfect, an action starting in the past and still going on. But with since we mention the starting point, and with for we indicate the duration. Right. So you have either have or has with he, she, it, third person singular, again problem of S, plus past participle with regular verbs, ed, with irregular verbs, you have to check in your list. Okay, you say, I have studied, you have studied, he, she has studied, we have studied, they have studied. With irregular forms, I have seen, you have seen, she, he, it has seen, we have seen, and they have seen. Or have gone, you have gone, he has gone, she has gone. Right. So the second form is, I have walked, you have walked, it has walked. The second form we mean the contracted form, which we usually use when we are speaking for economy. So instead of saying I have gone, we say I've gone, right? The short form. So for the third person, she's walked, he's walked, it's walked, right? So the timeline. So it started somewhere in the past. We don't know where. This is why we have put here a question mark, and it reaches the present or goes over the present. Okay. So for diagram 2, it's yes, for diagram 2 here. So we have the past. So either past simple or past simple with completely finished, precise time, present perfect. No precise time, the action is fresh, recent, or going over the present. So for the present progressive, this is what we'll see, inshallah. I invite you to see the next video. Thank you.
Thank you.